Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Mark Huron, and you're listening to Conscious Living Radio on 100.5 CFRO, uh, co-op radio in Vancouver. And today, we're doing some things differently again, as usual, as many people know, with the state of the situation in the world and locally. And we're not in the studio, and we're doing a lot of things now online and live via Facebook. So, welcome to our program. Today, I'm honored to speak with a young couple who's doing some really great work in the world of evolving consciousness. Now, before I introduce our guests, we wanted to start our talk and our interview here today with a protection prayer that Cecelia is going to take us through as we set the stage to really pull our conversation together as we talk about the importance of breath and channeling and evolving our consciousness. So, Cecelia, if you could take us away on your protection prayer, that would be great.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to kind of open it up, it's just a way to bring a more of a higher vibrational energy into the space, just if I'm going to be opening up to channeling, just so for anyone knows. And this is not for any specific religious purpose or anything like that. It's just to kind of set a tone. So anyone who's listening can close their eyes and just tap in if it feels good. And I'll speak this prayer of protection. Great Creator, source of all things, we thank you for your presence today, and we ask that you surround us, encompass us with your golden light of protection, so that the work that is done here and all information that crosses this platform is for the highest good of ourselves and all we encounter. We call upon the four elements, earth, air, fire, and water, to alchemize all that no longer serves. And we open up this channel to the highest vibration. So be it.
Aho.
Aho.
Beautiful. All right. Well, let me introduce today's guests. I've recently met Josh and Cecelia through social media, of course, and the work that we do at Conscious Living Network. Now, Cecilia's journey began about 8 years ago when she found herself lost in a mess of depression, anxiety, OCD, and an eating disorder, which had led her to turn towards holistic nutrition, yoga, shamanic practices, and the inward journey in search of a healthier state of being. After coming to realize that what was ailing her was her deep disconnect from her emotions, trauma, and spirituality, Cecelia began diving deep into her soul and has not turned back since. She now seeks to share with others the wealth of wisdom, healing, and insight that her journey has awakened within her. Now, Joshua, after receiving his degree in entrepreneurship and MIS, we'll find out what that is, Joshua stepped into the business consulting world only to realize that this work was not at all what his heart truly desired. After a short period of the numbing pain and partying all the time and trying to find happiness, he decided to leave his career and embark on a powerful journey of self-discovery. Josh now aims to be of service to others and to help bring a higher state of awareness, wisdom, and healing to the world. Well, thank you for coming to our program, guys. It's a pleasure to have you and share your message and your work and your story with the world, because I think it really relates to a lot of people. Just Josh, hearing your story about, being in the corporate world and the business world and realizing, is this all there is? It's not very fulfilling. And Cecelia, your story relates, quite closely to many, women and men as well who struggle with, anxiety, eating disorders and things as well. So, welcome to the world of being human, as all of us are. and thank you for sharing your gifts and your own transformation. So maybe you can start just by telling us briefly a little bit more about your story and, how these things happened for you both. And I always like to let the ladies go first.
Thank you, Mark. I mean, you kind of opened it up a little bit. When I was 19, I the turning point was this one night in particular where I found myself just in a heap of tears on the floor. And I really just realized in that moment that the life that I had been living, I had been depressed, I had been anxious, I had been having panic attacks on a nearly daily basis and really struggling with self-love and suicidal thoughts and just really in a heavy place. And I realized on this night that if I carried on with this continuing pattern, that I would really suffer through life. And that I saw this vision of me at 50 completely miserable. And that wasn't the life that I wanted, especially, I was only 19. So I was just like, I need to do something different. And I didn't know what that meant. I didn't know what that looked like, but it sent me on a journey of self-discovery. Where I just really started to dive deep into meditative practices, yogic practices, and really opened up my spiritual life. And, I started out with holistic nutrition and movement, and I got my exercise in order, I got my eating in order, and that really helped. But there was a deeper place for me to go. And it wasn't until I went to a 10-day Vipassana course and had my first very profound spiritual awakening that I realized that the main thing that I think was ailing myself, but also I think most people, is this profound disconnect from spirit and from our own internal energy, our emotions, and recognizing that actually, like, it's not all just up in the head, it's in the body. And so this sent me into this inward journey of feeling and alchemizing all the trauma that I was holding, from my childhood, even from past lives. And so today, I am working as a psychic medium and a channeler after having a few more spiritual awakenings since then, and diving really deep, as well as a spiritual life coach. And I work with a lot of emotional wellness and like emotional alchemy type stuff. So, yeah, I mean, that's in a nutshell kind of who I am. I mean,
Beautiful.
at the surface level, but
I like the term you use, a spiritual life coach. I thought that was great. Thank you for that one. Now, what about you, Josh? Corporate world, entrepreneurial. First off, what is MIS? Pardon my ignorance.
So MIS is Management Information Systems. It's
Okay.
like databases and stuff. So it's completely different than what I'm doing now, which is ironic. But my story, my path starts a little bit earlier than that. When I was younger, when I was 7, my mom and I grew up in a normal family, middle class, everything was cool. I have a brother. But when I was 7, my mom used to work at Home Depot. And one day she lifted a box and ended up like completely throwing her back out. Like she couldn't even get up out of bed. She was crawling and just in this agonizing pain all the time. And it turns out that she herniated 2 of her discs, and it was permanent essentially. So she'd be in this traumatizing pain for many, many years, probably not able to go back to work. But again, I was 7, so I had no idea what that meant. All I knew was that my mom was different now. She was sleeping all day, constantly in pain, emotionally disconnected from herself, which made it emotionally distant from the child as well. And I felt that. Reflecting back, I can analyze it now, but in the moment, I became angry. I became like very conflictive, throwing temper tantrums, crying, demanding things. They didn't know how to handle me all of a sudden. They're like, what's wrong with him? So they took me to therapists, and they're like, okay, he has ODD, OCD, ADHD, ADD. They put every title on me. And over the next 5 years, they diagnosed me with all of these things and prescribed me 12 different types of medications. They're like, okay, we don't know what's wrong with him. Let's give him medications. Let's see if we can fix him. Let's see if it'll get better. Reflecting back, those periods of my life are so dark. I don't even have them in my memory because I was so on these different meds. But one of the medications that they had me on actually led me to overeating and becoming like severely addicted to food. It got to a point where they had to put like locks on the cabinets, and I became morbidly obese, and which came with a lot of like self-image issues, a lot of like friends issues. I became hyper addicted to video games on the computer. When I was in 5th grade, I actually stopped going to school the second half, and they held me back that year. And then I had to repeat 5th grade, but the same pattern would happen after like the beginning of like the year. Around 3/4 of the way through, I'd stop going to school, and somehow I passed 5th again, 6th, and 7th, but the same pattern kept happening. And it got so bad that every day my mom would call the cops to try to get me to go to school. They're like, you need to go to school. She would come in, I'd pretend to be sleeping, and I just really did not want to go because of like the emotional issues I was going through and addicted to the video games. So she would dress me and everything, but the cops were like, you need to stop calling us. But when I was in 7th grade, going to 8th, they were like, you need to go to school or you're going to go to jail, because it was true. I became truant, which is where you're younger than 16 and you stop going to school. This went on this crazy path, but then all of a sudden I woke up in that moment. I had like my first awakening. I started losing weight when I was in 8th grade. I decided to go to school, made friends, everything was getting better. But then that was the same year as I was about to transition into 9th grade that the economy crashed and our house actually got foreclosed. So it got better, and then it got worse again. And like a little bit after, a few weeks after our house was getting foreclosed, we're going through this whole process. I walk in on my mom doing drugs. And it turns out that she relapsed because she had been clean for 25 years. And then she started using drugs again. Went on this whole process of like really internalizing all of this and trying to figure out how to get through it and what to do with my life. And I went through high school with all this trauma and all of this like environment, like negative environment. And my eyes were on the goal of just graduating, getting the grades, going to college, and making a way for myself so I wouldn't succumb to the same life of drug use. So fast forward, I ended up graduating college and I got this awesome job. It was incredible. I was a tech consultant, which is like basically you work at big companies and they pay you really well. I was getting paid over $80,000 right out of college. And I moved over to San Francisco. But when I got there, I was working there for like 6-7 months and I just was not happy. I found myself on the floor, similar to her story. I was just crying one night, just in a freaking dark depression. And I was addicted to drugs. I was addicted to cocaine. I was addicted to Adderall, all these different drugs. I was addicted to drinking and partying. And I was like, how am I the hypocrite? I did everything I could to get away from the drug use. I got the job. I was successful. Externally, they were like, you've made it. My family was happy. Everyone was happy for me. Society said I made it. But internally, there was a big disconnect and I was not happy. So I decided to make a change and I ended up moving over to Miami, starting a business with a friend. The business didn't work out, but along that way, I started really going inward, like a lot deeper, and really connecting with my roots. And I got certified in Gamma Breathwork, which is a breathing modality. And that really like kicked things off to give me a powerful boost in my healing and direction in terms of life coaching. Because I was like, I have all of these gifts, I have all these experiences and I want to share them, but I don't know how. So I got certified in the breathing modality, and then I transitioned to working with clients and then teaching classes, meditation classes, breathwork classes, and then hosting workshops with her. And it's just been incredible to be able to give back and to share in that way.
Wow. Well, those are a couple of pretty powerful stories. And, I'm sure I can relate in certainly some ways. And I'm sure there's a lot of our listeners and viewers who can actually relate to that as well, because I think your stories, as painful as they are and can sound, a lot of people can identify with that. So I thank you for sharing that openly and vulnerably as well. And I think it's really important to, take a look too. Sometimes, the things that happen in our life is kind of what brings us to where we become in our life. And when that level of discomfort happens, it's a sign that something needs to change. It's growth. It's like busting out of that seed as a seed starting to grow, And it reminded me of a show we did a while ago in regards to a documentary. And the documentary, I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was about coming out of the spiritual closet. And really it was, I can't remember what it was called. The whole message behind the story was that so much mental illness, it was actually spiritual awakenings happening where, the doctors and psychiatrists and all these people, they didn't know what it was. They wouldn't guide you through it like a shaman or a spiritual, teacher. And instead they were doping everybody down and making it and suppressing that awakening from happening, which doesn't happen. And so when you tell your story, Josh, about the, being on all these drugs at such a young age, that's just got to mess with some, young guy's physiology, biochemistry, everything. So, I thank you for sharing that so candidly and openly as well, because I think it's very relatable.
Mhm.
Now, you talk about gamma breath work, which is something that you found to be very healing and very moving for you. And Celia, I know you do a lot of work here, Cecelia, and I'm really interested in your channeling and psychic mediumship work as well. You've got an event coming up you're doing online this Saturday, which we'll talk about some more. But maybe, Josh, you can tell us what's the difference, or what is gamma breath work, and what's the difference between gamma breath work and something like holotropic breath work or yogic breath work and breath of fire and things. Maybe you
Mhm.
can share, the difference of that and the importance of breath.
Yeah. So first off, the difference between gamma breathwork and like say holotropic breathwork, where you're laying on the ground, it's like a 2 hour ceremony. You're doing big breaths, like in and out for 2 hours. It's a complete journey. It's like a psychedelic experience, and you should have a shaman to be there guiding you, because it's incredibly powerful and you're moving so much energy. And if you don't have the right guidance, it could be really like intense for your psyche. Gamma breath work, it's smaller sequences of breathing. It's like a minute to 2 minutes each, and it's used in like a meditative state. So instead of laying down, you're sitting down, and the practitioner, me, guides people through different cues to visualize and to think about. But the sequences are incredibly powerful for putting you into a gamma state. Gamma state is the highest operating brain state that you have access to. So by doing these sequences, it puts you in gamma. When you're in gamma, you feel super connected to yourself, super connected to the world, and it kind of puts a protective mechanism around you. So then you can start doing the work. You're super connected to your higher self, your intuition in that state, which means that you can clean or heal or release energies that aren't serving you anymore at an expedited rate. You can see traumas and release them without being re-traumatized and triggered. But you could also like create goals and set new goals and manifest things at a higher rate, because you're doing it from a higher vibrational standpoint. And to give you some example, or some instance, my teacher actually used to have a holotropic breathwork studio where she would teach a 200-hour teacher training in New York. She did that for like 8 years. But after she found this breathing modality, which is, it's really not really well known. There's probably 150 practitioners around the world. But after she worked with it, she realized how potent it was. And she decided to stop doing the holotropic breath work and went entirely into gamma breath work. And she got hired by top addiction centers around the US. And she was in charge of their somatic programming and helped hundreds of people completely cure their addictions, because of how powerful it is for rewiring programs, rewriting the psyche, and to really get to the root of trauma and what it is that's holding us back from being our higher selves.
And we can do that, you say, with simply using our breath.
Simply using our breath. So simple. And
You know,
actually, at the end here, I can guide us through a quick sequence or two, and you guys can feel it for yourself.
yeah, that I think that would be great. And for those people who want to experience it more, we'll have some information. I've already posted in the Facebook comments down below the event coming up that you're going to be hosting online this Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's really great, because I know you and I had this conversation last week about doing breath work online and holotropic. I was relating to the power of holotropic breath work, because I've had some experience and I've seen some other people, and we're talking about the safety of it, and that's why this makes it a very different kind of experience. That because you were talking even in what you're sharing about having a shaman present for doing that kind of work.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah. And it's not that it's less powerful. It's just completely different. It puts
Mm-hmm.
the sequences are very specific to do very specific things. You go into with like using very focused intention, and you use the sequences to guide with visualizations. And it's a journey that people have to experience.
Beautiful. Well, I look forward to experiencing that at the towards the end of what we're going to do. Now, how about you, Celia? I've always been fascinated by psychics and channeling and that sort of thing. How does that fit into this workshop that you guys do together? And let's talk a little bit more about channeling and what that looks like and feels like for you.
Yeah, I mean, in our workshop, I usually open the workshop with a channeled meditation, which I first kind of guide people into it, and then we drop into a that like higher vibrational state where then my guides come in and they start to lift the vibration, and then they give a teaching while we're in that meditative state, which will be on whatever is present in the moment, whatever they feel like is what that particular group needs. As for what it is, it's basically, I like to think about channeling as, I've done a lot of work to clear out my central channel, and to be able to differentiate my own energy from another's. And through that process of being able to understand and clear out the trauma from my energy, I'm able to basically move myself out of the way, and I become basically a clear vessel and a radio. So I can tune into different stations. I'm kind of a universal channel. I work with my set of guides primarily, but I'm able to, that's what a psychic medium really is doing, is channeling other people's energy and bringing their energy in so that they can pass on that information. And so when I channel, I work with my guides. I call them the goddess because it's a very highly feminine energy. They speak to that feminine energy a lot, and the divine mother, the divine goddess. But when I do my psychic mediumship, I work with a variety of different, I guess, avenues, you could say. So I work with clairvoyance, which is clear seeing. So this is visions. This is like very visual. I work with clairaudience, which is hearing things for people. So sometimes I'll just get a word or a sentence, or sometimes my guides will come in and just, share something that that person needs to know in that moment. I work with really high, like this is probably the most, I work with clairsentience, which is like turning the empathy on full blast. So I can basically pull someone's energy field into me, and I can feel very profoundly what they're feeling inside, and then relay back to them based on where they're feeling it in their body. And by tapping into that energy, I can kind of give them an idea of why, or just kind of start to guide them towards unlocking that energy and releasing it. And then I also work with claircognizance, which is clear knowing. That's like that instantaneous download where suddenly you just know something, and then I can share it. It's very intuitive. When I work with people one-on-one, it's often kind of a mix of whatever makes sense in the moment. Sometimes it'll just be me calling in things. Sometimes my guides will come in and they'll have something more deep to share, if that calls to them. But yeah, that's basically what I do. I mean, this isn't something that I've been doing forever. This is something that kind of unraveled the more that I healed. And the more that I trusted myself to be able to jump into this work. When I first started to open up psychically, it was a little intimidating. Like my first experience was that I started being able to communicate with plants. And that was an interesting thing, is that I had a lot of plants. I had like 70 plants in my house. And during over time, I started to be able to recognize that when I was with them vibrationally, I was feeling and getting energy from them, and knowing crazy, like more than what you would not normally have access to informationally with that, as well as when I was around people, I started to pick up on things.
So let me ask you this.
Mm.
When this started happening for you, did you know what was happening and what was going on, or did you think you might be going crazy, or what was happening there? Because, people start getting voices in their heads, and the first thing people will think is, A, I'm going crazy, or we think they're going crazy. So what was that for you in that moment when that started happening?
It was a little bit of both. So the first time that I had like a voice from another dimension come through to me was during my first spiritual awakening at a Vipassana course, which is the 10-day silent meditation for anyone who doesn't know. And it shocked me. But there was this moment, like, there's just this knowing about it. There's a vibration about it when it happens, that you just know that there's something deeper and something more expansive happening. And I learned to trust it. And it had come through a few different spiritual experiences, like deeper, more expansive spiritual experiences. It kept coming through. And it's now the voice that or the beings that I work with now. I recognize that today. At the time, it was kind of like, oh, this must be this must be the voice of God or something. Like, like I was like, this must, and I was, when I was growing up, I was religiously atheist. Like you told me anything about energy and I just was like, no. And so it's kind of ironic that this is the work that I'm doing now. But I also do a lot of work. The thing that opened me up to channeling just as something to be open-minded to, even not to necessarily do. That was just something I stumbled on, honestly. Was I do a lot of work with a channeler named Paul Selig. I don't know if you've heard of him, but he channels these books that are basically vibrational attunements, each one, and as you work through them, they attune you vibrationally. And I remember when I first started reading his book, and I mean, the first time I heard him channel, I had never considered channeling as something that I would be open-minded to, but as soon as I heard the truth coming through him, I was like, there's something to this. Like, there's something really profound about what he is doing. And I just this is how I am. I dive in deep when I come into something. So I started reading his books, and as I was reading his books, I was noticing that my energy field was shifting. And so I really do, I give a lot of credit to the work of his guides for attuning myself to this frequency to be able to become a channel. But more and more as I continued to unfold, it just became more and more obvious that this is happening, especially when I started working with energy. I just started, when I'd have hands on people, I was getting things about when they were, something happened when you were 5. And they'd be like, wow, how do you know that? So it was just little things that started to pop up. And honestly, it wasn't until I met Josh, because I wasn't very open about this. Like, I was kind of having this experience and just on my own, and using it for my own needs and any downloads that came through and in my writing or whatever. But it was pretty to myself. And then Josh met me, and I, as we were getting to know each other, he was asking me all these questions about who I was. And most people aren't as curious about the depths that I tend to explore. And so to have him start to point out, there's something, these things that you do aren't necessarily normal, like.
What's interesting about that is that before I met her last October in Sedona in this trip that we were both on. But I looked into Paul Selig as well separately before I met her, and I had seen his podcasts with one of my mentors, Aubrey Marcus. If you guys have heard about him, he has an incredible podcast. And I was closed-minded to all this. I didn't believe in any of this. I did not believe it, though. I just didn't believe it. And then I heard him channeling, and I was like blown away. I was like, this can't be real. This isn't real. But then like she said, you hear the message coming through, and it rings truth, and that like rings in your heart, and you hear it and you're like, wow. But then when I met her, she's like, have you read his books yet? And I hadn't gotten around to reading the books. And I started reading the books, and I was blown away. I read all 6 of them within like a month because of how the knowledge is in them. But wild story.
Wow. Yeah. So it's kind of, so you must know of Abraham Hicks or Esther Hicks and her channeling work with Abraham.
Yeah.
So I can relate. And once I started listening to her for the first time, I just dove into everything I could get my hands or my ears on. Yeah. And it's really quite amazing. So I'm actually going to look up this fellow you were speaking about as well, and see what he has to share, because I'm always interested. There's always some great nuggets of wisdom in anything that comes out from some of these great channels and psychics and mystics. And when you were talking about the voices in your head, I couldn't help but think, Cecelia, about Joan of Arc. Part of her story, how she was perceived back in the day, right, with these gifts and these skills that, she was a witch and she was evil and all of those things. And here we are in a world today where, there's so much psychic energy and great energy work being done in the world. So I just want to thank and acknowledge you guys for sharing your story and bringing your work as well to help create growth and transformation and change for each person that you work with and that you touch. So I thank you for that. So what can people expect in this workshop you got coming up? Because this is one of your new offerings. It's a unique time in the world where people are congregating and doing events. And I know we see that from Conscious Living Network side of things, and everybody's moving to online. So maybe you can share with our viewers and listeners what they can expect in an online Gamma Breath workshop and a channeling workshop that are combined together.
Yeah, so this workshop, we named it Evolving Consciousness because right now society and humanity is going through evolution, whether we know it or not, whether we're conscious of it or not. And it's incredibly important that we all take conscious action and steps towards our own evolution. There's so much suffering and pain in this world, and it's because of these traumas, because of this energy that's in us, and because of whatever systems are in place in the society, but the only ones that can save us are ourselves. So this workshop, it's structured in a couple of different parts. So in the beginning, we open with a channeled meditation. What this means is that her guides come through, and she kind of alluded to it before, but her guides use her energy system to vibrationally attune everyone that's in the space, which means that everybody in the space will be brought up to a higher vibration. And a higher vibration just means that you're more connected to your real self, your higher self. You're higher than all the traumas. You're able to heal at a more expansive rate. And then this meditation, it just really drops you very, very deep. And then we have a channeled I go into a gamma breathwork session, and sometimes we change it up a little bit, but I guide a gamma session, which is about an hour. And then her guides come through with the teaching, and the teaching is incredible. You just hear the truth and what the wisdom that comes through her, and you can't help but just like, there's just this feeling, it puts you at ease and peace. And it's always about being better and improving yourself, and how everything's connected, and the best way to heal and to release these things. And then at the end, we save time for a psychic question and answer. So if people want clarity about their life, if they have an ailment, a physical ailment or something, or if they have a relationship issue, she can answer that, or her guides can answer any of those questions.
Beautiful. Sounds interesting. I look forward to it.
Yeah,
That's
it's a
great.
unique experience, to be sure.
Well, and one thing I want to share with anybody listening and watching at this point too is, if you have any doubts about these online type ceremonies and events and energy work, it's really quite profound, because as we've done a few of them now, the feedback that we have received from the people who have participated has been really, really encouraging, to say the least. You know, the sense of community that we're able to create in a Zoom room. I know it might sound hard to believe, but people feel the energy, the connection happens, and it really, really does work. So I just want to encourage anybody who, if you're looking at doing any kind of online work right now, and that might be a hesitation for you, I just want to consider everybody to at least give it a go at least once, and experience it, because it really does work. And in this new way of working in the world and getting by and connecting, we need to take a look and we need to be socially close, not socially distant. And this is a real powerful thing in terms of the words that have been used in this whole pandemic. We need to be 6 feet apart. So that's a physical distance. So I like to use the word physical distancing with social closeness. Let's not talk to each other. Let's talk to each other even more. Let's be closer socially than we ever have, while we are 6 feet minimum apart. I think that's just a really powerful statement, because just the psychology of the words and the meaning that we can attach it. I want to see people socially close, and we can do that. We had people in a cannabis ceremony on Saturday from all over Canada, and people were socially close, and it was just a really beautiful thing. So I just wanted to share that as my experiences. We had great feedback, great testimonials, and people were really grateful. So I encourage people to, really step up, step out, and join these online events, because it is at this point the new way of doing things.
100%.
Yeah, we've experienced that too in these workshops. We've ran a few now online, and they're
great.
Like you, by the end, you almost don't even realize you're online, because you're so, especially with this whole like vibrational attunement, it brings everybody kind of together as a collective, and it bridges that gap, especially like once everyone kind of starts to share their experience and you get everyone talking, you just kind of become cohesive. And by the time you're done, it's hard to even realize that there is any distance at all. So it's really beautiful.
Yeah, it's really great the way that connect. So thank you guys for stepping out and doing that with your work as well, and reaching out with Conscious Living Network so we can help share your work and be part of the team together, creating transformation for the world. Now, that being said, Cecelia, why do I keep
my favorite part?
I don't know.
This is my favorite part. I am her biggest fan. I love this part.
Well, here's the thing. I'm going to leave it to you guys, because I know you want to do some breath work with us, Josh, before we finish this off, because I love, one thing about Conscious Living Network, we love things to be educational, experiential, and transformational.
Perfect.
So as we get into the experience part, what's best first? You guys really lead that part because is it the channeling or is it the breath work?
The channeling for sure.
Okay. So
Oh,
then my question is, I don't know how you can just turn it off, what you dial into, what kind of message you get, if you can filter that through. But I'd be curious if your guides can share with us a message in regards to how we best handle what's happening in the world. A lot of people are fearful, stressful, anxiety. Then there's some people who are living better than they ever have. What's the message for humanity to um, transmute and transform through this new age, these new times, in a better way?
Yeah.
so right before we start, because when she channels, she gets a little quieter. So I'm gonna plug in
Oh,
some.
I think I can. I
You,
think
you
I
can do it.
can be. Yeah, I've gotten better. I
So
used
if you
to
can't hear her, just let
quiet,
us know.
quick, quiet, but I'll bring you a bit closer and then should be fine. Okay, hold on. Let me just drop in. We have much to say in response to this topic. We speak from the high vibrational dimensions, and we can see what is shifting on your planet now. Much is shifting, and we understand that there is a fear vibration that is permeating your society at this time. But we assure you there is greatness in store. The vibration of the planet is lifting as we speak. The entire vibration of the planet is being attuned so that the evolution of all mankind can come to be. In truth, this is a beautiful time. And the only thing that we invite you each into is to move your awareness inwards and to heal all that keeps you in the lower vibrations and to release this into the ethers so that you can become more light, both in weight, energetically, but also turning your faces towards the light, as mankind has sat in shadows for so long. It is time to evolve. It is time to come together as one again. It is time to return to unity. This is the message that we bring, a message of oneness, a message of return to source, and reconnecting both inwardly to yourself, but also to the society at large so that all humans may lift in vibration. It is crucial now that you pay attention, and you have been gifted with this opportunity to be with yourselves in the most intimate manner. We ask, how are you spending this time that has been divinely aligned to allow you to retreat, to curl inward, and to see all that keeps you from becoming the person you are meant to become, to express as your highest expression in form. We invite you to feel, perhaps for the first time, and to give yourself permission to release your fear in the knowledge that all mankind will lift into the higher vibrations now. We do not say maybe to this, we say it is happening. And if you turn your face towards the light, you will see this, and you will feel it. You will see it in all those who are coming together. And as you said, it is not about social distancing. What is happening now is higher connectivity, both to the higher vibrations and the higher dimensions, but also to one another. And we dare say that there will be higher connectivity within all mankind. To those of us who exist within the other realms, this will become the norm. Psychic mediumship will not be so abnormal or obscene to you any longer. It will not be much time before all people will begin to feel, will begin to open and expand in the same way that Cecelia has been experiencing. She is but a beacon for what is possible, and we thank her for the work that she shows up in. We thank her for this opportunity to speak to you all. And we thank you for turning inwards and seeing yourself in truth so that you can heal, so that you can lift into the fifth dimensional reality that all mankind is ready to move into. This is all that we have to say for today. Thank you for your time.
Wow.
Yeah.
Like, it expressed everything I've been thinking and feeling right there. Yeah, like, wow. I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna edit that out as just one part, my question and that channeled message, because that was
Beautiful.
profoundly beautiful, and I think all people need to hear that in this time. So thank you to the goddesses, the goddess, for that message, and thank you, Cecelia, for channeling that through. Wow, amazing. Yeah. Yes, they are interesting times.
Yes, yeah,
Wow.
absolutely. And yeah, it's powerful, some of the things that have been coming through. When these messages started coming through me, I was, very surprised to start to hear, I started hearing things back in November. There's going to be a massive shift, like very, very soon. Like it was, and when this COVID thing happened, I was like, oh yeah, I was warned. I was warned about this. So it's interesting, but I am optimistic. Yeah.
Well, I'm optimistic because I believe everything happens for a reason. And sometimes we don't know the reason. And yet, even within the happenings becomes our meaning that we give the situation.
Mm-hmm.
And, there's something of what was channeled through there is, the part of going inward, the great opportunity that we all now have that we've never had unlike any time before in our lifetime. The world has never been this quiet. The air has never been so clean. I heard a jet today once for the first time in a long time, because we don't hear that. And we're not far from the airport here in Vancouver, but we hear it regular. And now you're not hearing it every day. The birds seem to be happier. Everything's just cleaner and crisper and clear.
Such a gift.
It's the same thing I say to everybody in any message I share is, this is a time to prepare. This is a time to plan. This is a time to get ready for what's next. And then people go, well, we don't know what's next. And I go, and that's the beauty of it, because we have to be ready for whatever comes our way, and it's how we show up in crisis and conflict, in times of stress, anxiety, and fear, show who we really are and where we're really at in that kind of place in our life. Because are we reacting or are we ready? And it's the one quote I love is, your life is a direct reflection of the amount of uncertainty you can comfortably live with.
Yes.
And right now we are in a huge, huge realm of uncertainty for the planet and for our society. So thank you so much for that message. That was great.
Yeah, totally. And this time, like, it's forced us to become very present. It's forced us to just be here. And like they said, it is just this beautiful opportunity to just take the time because what, the things that I have had come through and messages that I have heard is that, this is just the beginning of something bigger. And we kind of get to choose what direction it goes in, and the more that we can do that internal work. And as there's a lot of we have a lot of help right now on Earth, energetically, from the other dimensions, and this has been shared with me through visions and in different messages. And as our vibration is lifting, there's an inevitable evolution right now. Everybody on Earth is going to start to feel that shift inside, and we're going to have to support each other because we're all going to be going through a spiritual awakening. It's not just one or two of us, it's going to be everybody. And that means that those of us who know what that experience is like, know how to go move through that, and know that this process we're going to have to step up to the plate to assist our fellows so that we can
Brothers and
all,
sisters.
move forward with relative ease.
Mhm.
It's going to be, spiritual awakening is an interesting experience, but
Well, and my best words of advice, other than don't take any advice, is let go.
yeah,
Let go and surrender to it. The more you resist, the
More
longer, more difficult this process can be. And when you let go and surrender, it can be quite quick and relatively painful or painless and so blissful, and liberating. So thank you for that. That's a great bit of sage input. So excellent. Now, Josh, I know you guys got to get rolling. We got to wrap it up pretty quick. Now, you're going to lead us through a little bit of gamma breath work.
Yeah. So it's perfect transition. So this breath work pairs perfectly with the work that she does, because this is a practical way of actually moving the energy, of actually going in and releasing this energy that's no longer serving us, and to literally become a better version of yourself. When we heal all of our traumas, and what I mean by trauma is energetic blocks within the body. We have different energy centers in our body, and through various experiences in our lives, this energy gets blocked. When we're not processing that energy, it comes out in various emotions like unchecked anger or unchecked sadness or bipolar or any mental illness. It's all an imbalance of energy within the body, period. So when we can go through, and breathwork's an incredibly powerful modality for that. So today I'm going to guide us through two different sequences, just real quick. So I'd like the listeners to just get comfortable seat, feet on the ground if you can, or feet cross-legged, back straight, and just drop into your body. Relax your mind. Let go of any to-do list. Let go of any worries, anxieties. Just be here now in the present moment. Be in your body. What does your body feel like right now? Feel the weight of your body dropping deeper and deeper into the seat underneath you, becoming heavier and heavier. Becoming really, really present with yourself, with what's happening inside of you. What is happening inside your world? I want you to check in. What kinds of thoughts does your mind have? Are they negative? Are they mean? Are they anxious, telling you to do things, to worry about things, to go do that? You're going to be late for that. Get off this. I don't have time. What is your mind saying? Just check in. Now I want you to feel inside your body to any energy that is uncomfortable. Maybe there's anxiety, maybe you have anger, worry, panic, fear. And I want you to identify where this low vibrational energy is. Where are these emotions manifesting themselves? And by that, I mean where, if you really, really feel into the emotion, what part of your body is that emotion in? Where is it? A lot of energy is stored in like the belly, the solar plexus area, maybe your heart, or just tune in. And for the next 20 seconds, I want you to feel into any tension, any anxiety, any fear, any of these uncomfortable emotions, and make them more present. Actually become more and more aware of them. And it'll be uncomfortable at first, but just trust me on this. We're going to process it. Okay? 20 seconds. Okay, now keeping your eyes closed, just listen. There's 3 different speeds to these breathing sequences, right? So there's fast, which is 1 second. There's medium, which is 3 seconds. And there's slow, which is 5 seconds. And what I mean by this is that's the amount of time that you'll take to completely fill your lungs. And when you take a breath in, I want you to really take a breath in. So if I say in-mouth medium, you're taking 3 seconds to completely fill your lungs. So you're going to use an energy, you're going to breathe in a way that you don't typically breathe in. And we're going to be oscillating between mouth and nose, and I'll guide you so you'll get the hang of it. But for example, in mouth medium. Okay, so at home, when you're sitting, just make sure you're breathing in intensely, okay, for the period of time that we're going to be doing. So this is a processing breath. I just asked you to tune into the uncomfortable energy within your body, and that's going to allow us to release this energy, to process this energy that you identified. Make sure you're very, very present with the energy, because whatever you're focusing on, whatever you're putting your attention on, is the energy that we're going to be processing, okay? So take 5 seconds, tune back into that energy. Maybe you're sad, you're angry, you're panicked, you're fearful. This could be about anything. Okay. And in mouth medium, 3 seconds. Out mouth medium. In mouth, out nose slow, 5 seconds. In nose, out nose medium. In nose, out mouth fast. In mouth, out mouth medium. In mouth medium. Out nose, in mouth slow. Out nose, in nose medium. Out mouth, in nose fast. Out mouth, in mouth medium. And out mouth medium. Now keep your eyes closed, relax your body. For the next 30 seconds, I want you to be present. What do you feel? What has shifted? Maybe you feel calm, relaxed, but tune back into that energy. And I want you to notice if there's been a shift. Has this energy released? Do you feel less fearful? Do you feel less sad? Just be very present for the next 30 seconds and take inventory of how you're feeling without judgment. Keeping your eyes closed. So a lot of the time when we do these sequences, people that have never felt energy before are feeling the energy, because as after you release, you feel the energy pulsating in your hands, in your head, throughout your body. So don't be afraid. That's just energy moving. That's your life force moving throughout your body. And that's actually a gift, because stagnant energy is an energetic block. Okay. So now I want you to, keeping your eyes closed, I want you to bring your awareness to your heart center, just to the center of your heart. And I want you to feel the energy here. What do you feel? How does it feel? Maybe there's a warmth. Maybe it brings a smile to your face. And now I want you to think of 3 things in your life that you're incredibly grateful for. What are you grateful for right now in this moment? And I want you to feel into that gratitude. What does that make you feel like? Are you grateful for your family? Are you grateful that you have more time to spend with your family, with your kids? Are you grateful to be able to just be at home and build a business? Or are you grateful for all this time to meditate? Whatever you're grateful for, it's unique to everybody. I want you to feel the gratitude, bring the smile to your face, and amplify this energy from your heart center. Amplify it. Allow yourself to just get overwhelmed with the gratitude that you have in this moment. Take 30 seconds to do that. And now, with that feeling of gratitude in your heart, we're going to do an amplification breath, which utilizes the energy that we just processed. So we process the uncomfortable energy, which freed up energy within our body. And we're going to utilize this freed energy and put it towards creating more gratitude in this moment. So feel into the gratitude. And now, in mouth medium. In more. In more. Little bit more. And hold your breath. Out mouth, in mouth medium. Out mouth, in nose slow, 5 seconds. Out nose, in nose, medium. Out nose, in mouth, fast. Out mouth, in mouth, medium. In more. In more. Little bit more. Hold. Out nose, in mouth, slow. Out nose, in nose, medium. Out mouth, in nose, fast. Out mouth, in mouth, medium. In more. In more. Little bit more. And hold your breath. And surrender. Keep your eyes closed, relax your hands, relax your body, relax your mind, and feel that energy pulsating throughout your body. Bring your awareness back to that gratitude and notice how it's just been expanded. There's even more gratitude. For the next 30 seconds, just feel, be present. What is coming up for you? What are you experiencing? Without judgment, just be present. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes.
Wow, again. Mind blown.
Yeah, so typically we do a lot longer of a sequence or of a session, and we go in a lot deeper with visualization and cues, but for the sake of time.
Yeah, no, that was pretty powerful. And yet, when you're asking what you're feeling, yeah, my hands were vibrating, all the energy to my hands, my fingers, my feet, my toes. I was just feeling it all. And then there was a point where near the end, it was just like a euphoria, and I almost started kind of going into a little bit of a psychedelic state.
Yeah.
I was having this opening going, whoa.
Yeah, so these sequences are so incredibly powerful that they actually activate the pineal gland, which releases dopamine and serotonin, just like plant medicines. You're activating all of these feel-good chemicals and DMT, which leads to those transformative experiences.
And this is why breath work can be so powerful. And, it's the most important thing in life. It's the one thing we can live the least amount of time without is our breath. And so many of us just don't breathe properly. It's all short and shallow. We're not, getting that deep diaphragmatic breath. We're not super oxygenating our blood and our bodies on a regular basis. And then we wonder why we're anxious and stressed out and things all the time, because we're not even breathing.
Exactly.
And that breathing will bring an internal peace and an internal calmness that is next to none. And it's as simple as breath. So thank you for that gift, Joshua. Now, I look forward to, how long is the event on Saturday? Is it a couple hours?
Yep. 2.5 hours typically.
2.5 hours. So I could just imagine where, that will take you in 2.5 hours of breath work and mediumship and energy coming in. So I'm really looking forward to that. Let's tell our listeners a little bit more of how they can find you, other than Conscious Living Network anyways, because I'm going to share a whole bunch of information about the event, and I'm going to invite all of our community to join us because I think it's a really profound experience and a way to go about doing things. So thank you for that. So tell us a little bit more.
Yeah. You can find me on Instagram. That's primarily the platform that I function from. It's at live.eat.breathe. And then I have a variety of services. I do all of my psychic readings. I do shamanic energy work and wind medicine, which is just a really fun energy work practice. And then I also do my spiritual life coaching, which is basically just one-on-one. We talk, I'll bring in my guides if needed, and we kind of just mix all of everything that I do and everything that I have learned over time. And I use those tools to help people to evolve and awaken. And so, yeah, and I'm also on Facebook, same thing.
Do you have a website to share?
Yeah, it's www.live-eat-breathe.com.
Nice.
And yeah, and all of my information's on there, all my services, and yeah, it's fun. This is my passion work. So
Great. Well, I love that. Live, eat, breathe. Kind of reminds me of Yogi Evan Deep, who's just sit, breathe, beat.
yeah,
I
yeah.
love it. And how about you, Josh? You have your own website somewhere, or you want to?
So I don't currently have a
Shout
website, but you can find me on Instagram at Josh Nesta, JoshNesta, and the same on Facebook as well. I'm very active. I'm always posting different videos of sequences if you guys are interested. And I also have services. I work one-on-one and private clients where we can go a lot deeper, whether you have addictions or traumas that you really want to rapidly process, or if you want to achieve goals or manifest things or just really level up your life in a positive way, we can work on that. And I also do group sessions. These are incredibly potent besides the workshop. So if you have a business or if you have a team of employees or workers and you want to really bring people together cohesively, if you want the group to sync up, if you will, if everyone to sync together so that the work that you're doing and you're creating together is a lot more in harmony, this is incredibly powerful for that. So whether you have a group of friends or if you're a business owner and you want to work with your employees, I offer all of that. And that's
Great.
about it.
Well, and thank you very much. I want to welcome Josh and Cecelia to the Conscious Living Network family as supporting members of the work here that we do. So you can also find them on the consciousliving.net website as one of our supporters. And you can see the event that's coming up this Saturday there. And I'm going to send it all out. It's also the events and the comments down below on the Facebook feed here. So I definitely thank you very much for taking the time this afternoon, guys, to share your gifts and to give us a tangible experience that we can share and do at any time. And I look forward to your event coming up this Saturday.
Yeah,
Thank
absolutely.
you so much, Mark.
Thank you so much.
Hey.
It's been a pleasure.
Yeah.
My pleasure. We'll see you again. So you've been listening to Conscious Living Radio. If we air this, it'll be on 100.5 CFRO in Vancouver, FM radio. It's a co-op radio station run by volunteers. They're always looking for donations too. So if you appreciate the work that they do, you can visit coopradio.org and contribute to help make better programming and a better station for everybody. Thank you so much. Mark Cron here with Conscious Living Network signing off. We'll see you again next time.
Have a good one.
Have a good
Bye
day.
now. Thanks, guys.